you're just a fish. I said, baby, you're my dream. She said, no, I'm just your wish. She said, baby, you're my river. I said, no, baby, I'm your train.
What a voice, by the way.
She said, baby, you're my color. I said, no, baby, I'm your stain. And I said, baby, you're my diamond. She said, no, I'm just a pig. I said, baby, you must be magic. She said, no, I'm just a trick. She said, baby, you can see me. I said, no, baby, I just sense. She said, baby, you're my castle. I said, no, honey, I'm your fans. And I said, baby, you're my lover. She said, no, I'm just a maid. I said, baby, I love you. She said, no, you're just afraid. I said, no, baby, I love you. She said, no, you're just afraid, boy. I said, no, baby. I said, baby, listen now. I said, no, baby, listen, I love you. I said, baby. I said, baby, I love you. I said, baby, I love you. She said, no, you're just afraid.
All right, I've just watched Asaf Avidan, a song called Your Anchor, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like it in my life. Yeah, just mind-blowingly talented. I dread to think how many hours it would have taken to create something like that. You know, just like supremely talented musically. You know, to have the ear to be able to put that together, and then to have that voice as well. Just, I spent like a lot of time during the song just thinking, what type of music is this? It almost had like a bluesy sort of feel to it, but it was just he wasn't playing by the rules. You can't put that sort of thing in a genre of music. I think he's just started from scratch and thought, right, what sounds am I going to make that make sense to me that I like, and has come up with that song. That was incredible. That was incredible. I think like the moment when he started singing, I was like, what the that voice. Who was I thinking of? It was almost like the top range of Freddie Mercury. Do you know what I mean? It was just like that, but an interesting range, but also like a bit like it felt like when Freddie Mercury sang, there was a little bit of like a lunatic in there. Do you know what I mean? There was a little bit vocally of like just someone that would do mad things. And that made him really interesting. And so I think that happened for me watching Asaf Avidan. There's just something really interesting and like unpredictable about like the way that he sings and what he can achieve with his voice and with the music more generally. But just talented, and genius was the word that I was thinking when I was watching. I thought that was really, really good. Sorry, I'm gonna stop going on about it now. In terms of sort of the message of the song, I guess we all take our own messages from songs like this, but it felt like there was basically a dialogue that was happening between two people that were in a relationship. And what's interesting is this is interesting from my perspective with the type of psychology that I'm into, is that two people can see the same behavior in entirely different ways. So that what we would say is that the topography of the behavior, the actual behavior, looks the same, but the supposed reason or function or meaning of the behavior is different. So like one person might say something like, "You're my castle," and I think the response was like, "No, I'm your fence." So like it's just like, oh right, that's different. It was like I forgot what like some of the other bits and bobs were, but it was just like there was almost like one person that had like a more idealized version of sort of like what was going on in their relationship, another person that had sort of more of a realistic sort of, not realistic, that's bad, cynical, a more cynical idea of what was going on in the relationship. You know, for one person in a relationship to view themselves as an anchor, I'm holding you back. It could be I'm holding you back. It could be I'm a sense of stability in you. That's how they view themselves in a relationship. And for the other partner in that relationship to not view the behavior in the same way, but to view it as something entirely different, man, it just speaks to the idea that like communication is so important in relationships, because you could be on a totally different pages with respect to what's going on. You could see exactly the same behavior. It happened with me and my wife, right? Let me tell you a story, right? I was in Egypt, and when we were in Egypt, we went to see we flew to see the pyramids, and on the way back we got off we were going to the plane, and there was a little old man that was with us, and he got caught up with like the passport people in the airport, and so I left Amy, my now wife, and I went back to help this guy. And the reason why I did it, because I didn't want to see this guy all stressed out. Like, he was an old fella, and it's important to me. Like I'm, you know, I know who I am, right? I know what I'm about. I'm about like trying to help and trying to make the world a better place and stuff, right? So I go and I help, and I help, and then I go back to Amy, sit in my seat. And I remember we'd only known each other a little while at the time, and she said to me something like, "Oh, you always want people to think that you're a good person," or something like that. And I was like, "Oh wow!" Like it's exactly that. We've both seen the behavior. The behavior is you go and you help someone, and my reason for the behavior is entirely different to my wife's ideas about why I was doing the things that I was doing in that situation. It just speaks to the idea that like we might think that everybody's thinking the same thing, but in fact, that's not the case. And so we probably need to communicate a little bit more, so that we're all on the same page. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but it's interesting. I just found it interesting, like how the same behavior was being viewed in different ways depending on who was the person that was viewing the behavior. It's really like cool little perspective taking exercises of like, if I was them and I was seeing this, what would I be thinking right now? So yeah, lyrically interesting, but musically a genius. That was amazing. Thanks for the recommendation. All right, everyone, take care of yourself. Hope you liked my reaction analysis, and I'll catch you next time. So you'll know that I'm a psychologist, and you might know that I've written a few books. There are links in the description. My favorite book of the books that I've written is called The Unbreakable Student, and it is a mental health guide for university or college students between the ages of 18 and 21. But the thing that I'm most proud of is a project called Connect, which is a well-being curriculum, a 250-hour intervention for young people between the ages of 4 and 11 to be delivered by teachers or teaching staff. It's totally free. There's that amount of psychological intervention, totally free. All you've got to do is sign up. You won't be asked for any payment details. You won't be asked to pay anything. It'll take like 2 or 3 minutes to sign up, and all of a sudden you'll have access to this whole curriculum. It's aimed mostly at teachers, teaching staff, head teachers, people in education, but also maybe some parents out there might find some use in gaining access to these materials. I hope you like it.